Divine Set 3 is finally here, and I want to go over the preliminary deck list that I plan on testing this format. The reason I wanted to make this video was to give any of you who want to also test these decks out but need a starting point, said starting point. But of note, these decks are more tailored towards testing out the new support than being actually optimized, with the idea being that I'm testing out the new support to see if they fit well into an optimal build and at how many copies. So with that introduction out of the way, let's get into the first list here. We've got the brand new Shojodoji coming out of this set. Super excited for this card. I've loved Shojodoji since it came out, and happy to see that it's further getting the spotlight because I saw some potential in there. Didn't know if it would actually be actualized, but very happy that it did. So we got the Cloudwater Flitfoot Stealth Rogue Shojodoji. It's got 3 effects. The first one lets it count as the OG Shojodoji, but since this one is a strict upgrade of the old Shojodoji, we aren't even running it, so that one isn't relevant in this list, nor do I think it will be relevant in optimized lists. Its second effect is Act Vanguard Circle. Once per turn, cost Energy Blast 3, bind 3 cards with Stealth in their card name from your soul, choose 2 of your opponent's rearguard circles, bind all cards on those chosen rearguard circles. Your opponent chooses a card from their hand, binds it, and at the end of turn, your opponent puts them into hand. Wow, that's like, well, it does cost more because Energy Blast 3, bind 3, this still does way more. Hand Rip can be super impactful, even if your opponent does get to choose. And yeah, this just does way more than the original already. And this is even getting to the third effect, which is Auto Vanguard Circle. When this unit attacks or is attacked, put 2 rearguards into Soul, choose up to 2 cards with Stealth in their card name from your bind zone, and call them each to front row and back row rearguard circle. If it's your opponent's battle phase, call all the chosen cards to guard circle instead of rearguard circle. So from my understanding of this deck, the defensive part of this effect isn't too relevant because most of the time you're using the effect offensively, but still offensively. Now it doesn't cost a counterblast, which frees up counterblast for other units, but on top of that lets you call a column, so you get 2 calls. So it doesn't have to be a column, you can separate it, but pretty much just being able to call 2 now gives it even more utility potential. Well, even though there's no 10k this time around, it doesn't really matter because you get to call a booster anyway, which more or less makes up for that 10k regardless. That was a really weird sentence there, but I hope you get the idea behind that. But yeah, just strict upgrade all around, really powerful unit. I can understand why this deck is looking to be one of the best, if not the best deck this format, because, well, one, this does more, but also as we get into the other support cards, you'll see that this deck can just create a ton of multi-attacks as well. Just being a huge, kind of, once you get to grade 3 combo attack extender deck. Really exciting because I really love the use between the board, soul, and bind zone just to do a bunch of crazy stuff, which this deck does in spades. So that is a new Shojodoji. The other key pieces or I should go over the new pieces first. The other new pieces the deck got is the Ogajishi here, another triple rare grade 2. When this unit is placed in rearguard circle, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 stealth in its card name from among them, put to soul, shuffle your deck, and if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, it gets 5k until end of turn. Deck thinning, peace finding, soul buildup, power if you're in the late game. That's already a solid effect. And auto, when this unit is put from rearguard circle into soul during your battle phase, you can counterblast one, choose 2 face-up cards in your opponent's bind zone, put them into drop, and you get all your front row units with stealth in their card name get power plus 5,000, and you get that effect until end of turn. Another really powerful effect, counterblast 2 to force your opponent to go -2 from the cards that have been bound, including that 1 card from hand for Shojo's effect, and front row power gain when we're doing a ton of multi-attack. Another solid effect. This is a really, really strong piece that I expect Shojodoji to really, really appreciate. And it has both early and mid to late game applications, which is an added benefit. The final card that specifically Shojodoji support, which is actually the key enabler for this deck being able to do crazy attack combos, is the Fulgent Stealth Rogue Kinron here. So it's only got 1 effect, which reads Auto Rearguard Circle. At the end of battle, this unit boosted. If you have a grade 3 Vanguard with Shojodoji as card name, put 2 rearguards with stealth in their card name in the same column as this unit to your soul. Choose a grade 2 or greater card with stealth in its card name from your drop and put it to hand. So that alone doesn't seem that great. You're going -2 to add back 1 card from hand. It's decent utility, but you really don't want to go -2 a lot of the times. But because it specifically puts 2 rearguards with stealth in the card name from your it's really just because it puts 2 rearguards in your battle phase to soul at the same time, it triggers Sukiyodachi, which means we can just get a ton of attack extension between Kinron, and we're using Kinron and Shojodoji's effect to then just be able to trigger Sukiyodachi's effect. And that's the gist of the game plan of this deck. And because Sukiyodachi can immediately put itself to bind zone when it is put to soul from rearguard circle, and both Kinron and Shojodoji do that, it's real easy off of one of these effects to set the Sukiyodachi for the other, And then, of course, Shojodoji just helps you call out extra cannon runs on top of it. So you can do pretty much the only limiter for this combo a lot of the times is, or I should say the main limiter for these combos look to just be the number of counterblasts you have access to be able to utilize the Shojodoji. So that's both the new cards as well as the main combo. We also round off this deck, of course, with Unprecedented because it's just a great attacker extra card draw. Ezel is a great card to help us dig for pieces early on and find PGs, as well as a decent secondary effect to help get rid of our opponent's cards in Bind Zone and give extra power. And then, of course, the Rad Kunai is just solid. It's extra counter charge to be able to set up more Shojodoji extensions and shield value from Bind Zone. This deck does have 2 flex slots. The main cards I saw run are Fall Heart because we do have some excess energy and getting a draw is nice. And of course the Kagechika because it again is extra card draw and helps us set up our soul from drop if we ever have any cards in there we want to get back into soul. The final card that I am testing out from the new set here is Protection Twin Cast, a new Regalis piece. It says choose one of your units that's being attacked, it gets power plus 10,000 until the end of that battle. And this got a secondary effect that does not count towards the once per game Regalis piece restriction. Instead, in drop, when your unit is attacked, you remove this card from your drop, choose one of your units that's being attacked, and it gets power plus 5,000 until end of battle for each grade of that unit. So that's the unit being attacked. So if it's a grade 3, it gets 15k. So this converts to 25k shield across 2 attacks. Most decks I was seeing were running the manga Regalis piece, but since English doesn't get that till November, I decided, hey, this is another Blitz Order one. Let's try it out as well. So this is pretty much the standard list I've been seeing from Japan, the cookie cutter list with the 2 flex slots, for maxing 4 out on all the key pieces here, including the PG, since you can search it with Ezel. So I figured that seems like a pretty great place to start, and it does test a lot of the new pieces that I want to anyway. And I really just want to learn the new combos for this deck and probably go from there. So that is the plan, and I'm just super excited for it because I just love Shojodoji. With that deck out of the way, the next one I have to test is the new Venus Luquier, so the upgrade form of Luquier. And just like Shojodoji, this one's just strictly better than the original. So it's got 3 effects: continuous Vanguard Circle during your turn if your soul is a Silver Form Dragon Tamer Luquier, this unit gets power plus 5,000. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, all your friend row gets 5,000 instead. That's a power gain. That's just a great effect, especially when Luquier is now able to do 5 attacks, which we'll get to. Active Vanguard Circle once per turn. Energy Blast, so you put a card from hand to soul. Choose any number of grade 3 or less unit cards with different grades from your soul. Call them to Rear Guard Circle. So it does cost Energy Blast 3 now, which isn't an issue. This deck wasn't using energy anyway, but now can get an extra call. It's not limited to 3 cards like OG Luquier was. And that Energy Blast 3 also does help another card synergize with it as well. So I don't know, that's just a better secondary effect than Luquier. Doesn't give the power anymore, but that doesn't matter when you got the first effect and power anyway. Then finally, it's got Auto Vanguard Circle. When this unit attacks, put 2 regards into the soul, draw a card. This unit gets 5k until end of that battle. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, it also gets +1 crit until end of that battle. So this was just, again, a better version of Luquier's end of turn effect. Still gets put 2 regards into soul. You get to call them out anyway, so now you dodge removal effects, get your draw, but now you get extra power and potentially a critical. And because it's the battle phase, that means it can trigger our 5th attack enabler, Desire Devil Bubetsu. Just being able to care about someone to call a card from hand to open Rear Guard Circle. If your soul has 10 or more cards, draw a card. So I don't know how often we'll get the draw, but just extra attack extension from hand, that seems pretty good. Of course, now we need to make sure we get a card in hand we want to call, but because we got great deck filtering capabilities with the Rising Dragon, I don't foresee that being much of an issue. So the main, well, I should actually finish going over the new units first. So the next one here is the Showered Applause Dragon, a new grade 3 double rare. It is treated as only having Pale Moon for its clan if your Vanguard only has Pale Moon for its clan. But then when it's placed on Rear Guard Circle, if you have a Vanguard with only Pale Moon for its clan, choose a card from your drop and you may put it to your soul. So a great way to loop back stuff like your Order card, so we can run it at less copies. Or just other key pieces as well that we've either had to discard throughout the game, or so on and so forth. Then, during your turn, if this unit is placed on Rear Guard Circle from soul this turn, it gets 5k. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, it gets plus 10k. So 18k attacker, 23k attacker once your opponent's on grade 3. Not as strong as the Rising Dragon, but still a great backup attacker that can hit very relevant numbers. From there, we also run 3 copies of the Folklore, another triple rare. Once placed on Rear Guard Circle from hand, energy charge 1. Just extra energy can be nice, especially if we want to build up to it, energy blast 7 to draw 1, but still be able to use Luquier. Don't know how relevant that will be, but it's a thought. But then it's really for that second effect, because Luquier energy blast 3, we can trigger it. Auto Rear Guard Circle, at the end of battle, this unit boosted. If you energy blast 3 or more cards at the same time for the cost of your card's ability this turn, retire this unit and draw a card. So extra hand filter as well. And this deck just accelerates at clearing the board, so your opponent can't really get much off of their retire effects, which not relevant against all decks, but sometimes can be relevant. From there, of course, we've got the one Luquier. I'm curious if that's optimal just to be able to set it up. We've got our Rising Dragons just to be able to get big numbers and keep filtering hand to soul to draw more, dig deeper into deck. We've got our Toge here. I'll go over this one because I haven't played a deck yet. This is an older promo card, but I still think it's worth going over. When the team is put to soul by your card's ability, if you have a Vanguard with only Pale Moon for its clan, bind this card, search your deck for up to 1 grade 3, put to soul, and if you search your deck, shuffle it. That's how we find our OG Luquier and our 2 orders. So just being able to pinpoint search them and then reset them with a Shower Applause Dragon seems pretty good. Also running the Twin Cast here, just want to check it out. Since we have an order to play, Blitz Order Regalus Piece is more appropriate. And then of course we've got the Jovial Juggler, which is another great card to help just reset boards, trigger these on-place effects from Shower Applause and Rising Dragon again. Just a ton of great stuff for this deck. So really the whole goal of this deck is to get set up with the Luquier and Soul, find our order, and then a Bubetsu, especially once we get to Persona Ride, use our giant 30k base Rising Dragons to just pressure the opponent, do 5 attacks in a turn, while also being able to generate quite a bit of card advantage through, of course, the Folklore, and then Luquier's own effect, and of course we're hand filtering anyway. So the idea, just keep doing that, beat down the opponent until they eventually take their 6 damage and you win. Moving right along, we've got Orfist here, a last minute addition because I didn't know that the Raffalog was going to be the sneak preview promo. So this is a nice consistency card for Orfist with 2 effects. When the team is placed on Rearguard Circle, if your world is Dark Knight or Abyssal Dark Knight, you can Energy Blast 3 to check the top 7 cards of your deck. Choose up to 1 grade 3 card without Regalus Piece or up to 1 World Order card from among them. Reveal it, put your hand, and shuffle your deck. Great consistency card. Uses up energy, which Orfist wasn't doing. And because of how it's worded, not only can you add your World Orders, you can add your Masques, you can add your OG Regis, or you can add Mask of Hydreigon because it just says grade 3 card. Yeah, just extra consistency I think is going to be much appreciated. And then second of all, it's got Continuous Guardian Circle. If your world is Dark Knight or Abyssal Dark Knight, this unit gets shield plus 5,000. So when you draw into it, it just means since Orfist generally has a smaller hand, your hand can go a bit further with Guardian with that extra shield if you don't need to call it down to board. So I'm really excited to test this card out. We'll see how good it ends up being in Orfist, but it definitely has the makings of a decent card. From there is just standard Orfist masks where you want to find your Mask of Hydreigon. You got your Cyber Kites to help do that. Of course, the extra Regis, because the effect to remove it to get an order back in your order zone is really relevant. Well, your world orders. Polar Axis, of course, is great. I do run 2 copies of the Balderreed from set 2 because 13k booster seems good. And in the early game or even the mid to late game, just being able to throw it to Soul to get extra search to dig for your masks or your world orders seems decent to me. We can also just leave it up as a 13k booster as well. So for the 2 flex slots, I thought that was a fun one to test. Testing out Twin Cast again, since we are a primary order based deck, mean Blitz orders are the way to go with the Regalus pieces. But yeah, other than that, it's just seeing how this deck appreciates the Raffalog, and we'll see. Next up is Luard, because we got this nice new Knight of Abruptness Undercover Diera. So of course it is for the Undercover deck, but it also works with Shadow Paladin based decks as well. So when the team is placed on Rearguard Circle, if you have a Vanguard with Undercover in its card name or only Shadow Paladin for its clan, Counterblast will check top 5, choose up to 1 card with Undercover in its card name or Shadow Paladin for its clan from among them. Reveal it, put it to your hand, and shuffle your deck. Sorry, only Shadow Paladin for its clan from among them. Reveal it, put it to your hand, and shuffle your deck. So this is pretty much just a Zasao for Luard, and we know Zasao was pretty good in Shiranui, so I want to see how it works out in Luard. Can help us search out our PGs or other Shadow Paladin pieces. Also has a second effect that I expect to be less relevant. Auto Rearguard Circle when this unit attacks a grade 3 or greater unit. If you have a Vanguard with Undercover in its card name or only Shadow Paladin for its clan, you can Soul Blast 1, give it 10k till end of that battle. I just expect the Soul to be used elsewhere, but still, having the option's nice. We also run the Claw of Secret Scheme Undercover Tigress as an extra target, as Luard, of course, can search this card out, and it's a defensive card with some interesting implications. Auto Rearguard Circle at the end of battle, this unit boosted Energy Blast 2 to return it to hand, so we can get the shield back to hand. And when this unit placed on Guardian Circle, put it under cover in its card name for your drop on the bottom of your deck. This unit gets shield plus 5,000 till end of that battle. So typically, of course, you don't want to put normal units back to deck, but Luard already does that, and you can technically with these two just recycle the 2, keep calling that with Luard, and just keep using them as that 10k shield. So I want to see how that works. From there, it's just Luard doing Luard stuff. We've got, of course, our Morpeza for late game combos with Drag, what is it called? Drag Driver? Yeah, Drag Driver Luard, just to get a ton of attacks into the late game to try to close it out. Solemnus Clout because it's a big beater. We've got, of course, Maples because it helps us build up cards and soul on board and can work really well with Luard's Retire effect. We've got, of course, Ezra's because we can now search it out. So maybe we kind of already do that. Well, not search out Luard, but we can search out Luard's Strike effect if we're playing the Hostage build. But this one's just a different take on it. Biswal helping us thin our deck, also building up Ritual, Counter Charge, Semias helping us build a board for no cost at all. Just Preservation Angel being a great defensive body. And then I expect to use the Soul more on Painkiller Angel just to be able to draw a card and just build up rituals and drop from there. I'm also trying out the Twin Cast here. Again, you can run offensive wars. I just want to try out the Twin Cast in this deck because it really feels like it's trying to be more defensive deck while we just beat down the multi-attack till we get to a point where we just have enough power, opponents at high enough damage where we just do the giant attack combo with Drag Driver and or Feza. This is one I'm especially excited for. It's Ezel. I love this deck here. So it got this brand new card, Platinum Mane Stallion. So if your Vanguard's only Gold Paladin, it counts as a Gold Paladin. This can be relevant. We'll see in testing how relevant it ends up being, but there is a card that functions specifically with only Gold Paladins, so technically now synergized with this. Then auto when this unit is placed on Rearguard Circle. If you have a Grade 3 Vanguard with Gold Paladin for its only clan, you get Energy Blast 3 to check the top 3 cards of your deck, choose up to one Grade 3 or less unit card with a different card name from this unit from among them, call to an open Rearguard Circle, put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. If you called a card at the end of turn, you may put this unit to the bottom of your deck. Not may, you must put it to the bottom of your deck. So the reason, I'll be honest, at first I wasn't too excited about this card because it just kind of does what Luard, Ezel can already do. But then when I thought about it, it's just extra attack, call extension with some other applications here. So the main expectation for me, or I should say the first one I thought of was you could reset a column with this, which seems pretty good during the battle phase. But do we have an open back row? Well, we can with Celadon, and because we play the Reign Supreme King of Beasts, that means Celadon is always live. So right away, that opens up a back row rearguard circle to then call the Platinum Mane Stallion if we find it off of Ezel's, was it top 7? I believe it's top 7. Yep, top 7. And then we can energize 3 to call something in front of it. Of course, top 3 isn't too much, but still that's resetting a column, which is pretty strong, especially if we've got no better options. But on top of that, in the early game, now it works in tandem with Default to be able to just extend to a much larger board. Ideally, we want to go Reign Supreme King of Beasts into Default into Platinum Mane, and all of a sudden we've built 3 units on board. But we could always go Reign Supreme King of Beasts into Platinum Mane to call something. We can't, if we call the Default, it doesn't get its effect, but still just another line of play here. And of course, if we just have any combination of these in hand, we don't even need to find off the Reign Supreme King of Beasts Bridge. It just lets us really easily build a board. So the game plan is, as always, we want Ezel to set up big multi-attack once my opponent gets to grade 3, while also red skipping just put on some extra pressure in the early game. Did Drains to help clear out our front row for that. We've got Celadon's because it's just a solid card. We're already in order build. We've got Default to help extend and be a big attacker. We've got the Exaltus for extra power that also clears a front row. This is the other card that can also bounce back the Platinum Mane Stallion if ever relevant. So instead of sending to the bottom deck, now I've got a 5k shield in hand. I don't know how often this will be super useful. We'll see in testing. And finally, Cadwalla, because it's just another way to clear out the front row that also converts itself into another card in hand to give this deck more consistency overall. So same old Ezel, just some new support as expected. I'm really excited to see how this ends up working. I'm curious what I'll end up feeling about this card since I was a bit skeptical about it at first. Not a set 3 list because there's no new set 3 cards here. I just wanted to try Zorga because I saw a list that was running the Hallucinatory Morpho with the Sure Seed Machine Gun, and I just wanted to test out this combo here because being able to give 5k when our opponent stands a unit or calls a unit to front row just seems really strong against a lot of these decks, and I love Zorga, so I always like to test out new stuff. I also didn't spend as much time as I like with Zorga just testing out the brand new support. Instead, I was really looking at other deck lists, seeing what other people run, trying that out. So I just wanted to go back to basics and try out all the new support as is, just to see how this deck ends up functioning. Looking over this deck though, I'm a bit worried that it's a bit too counterblast heavy with the Morpho and then all these orders, and then of course the Blitz order, but we'll see. Pretty much the idea is I just want to test it out of base here, and then I will adjust from there. So nothing more to be said about this deck, but just note the Zorga list if you're interested. And finally, we have Blue Storm Dragon Maelstrom with this new card here, Maraclossom Dragon. So when this unit is discarded from hand during your turn, you may have, and if you have a Grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Maelstrom in its card name, Energy Blast 2 to call this card to Rearguard Circle. We're discarding for a Ride deck up into Maelstrom. We're discarding to be able to call a card out from Soul. Just being able to turn that discard into a net or a +1 net. Potentially +2 for calling Inland Pulse, by the way. But that for only Energy Blast 2, that seems great, especially when this card, as long as there's a Blue Storm Armada on on Rearguard and Guardian Circle, this unit can intercept from the back row and get power +5,000, shield +5,000. Extra defense, extra power. This just seems like a super solid card for the deck. So just want to try that out, and pretty much just running Maelstrom good stuff. The main strategy of the deck being get out Inlet Pulse. You want to get to Soul, so that way we can call out with Maelstrom's first effect. We're building 2 board with that with the Maraclossom. Then we just need ways to swap positions to create multi-attack with these cards. So we got the Wheel Assault, we've got the Flow Strike Brave Shooter just being a big beater, we've got Tideline Dragon to make everything bigger, and then just kind of rounding off the deck, extra draw with the Sea Rumble Brave Shooter, and then I am trying out the Protect Twin Cast in this deck because we do have our main Order of Judgment Maelstrom we want to play. So this is another deck I haven't played in a while, so I'm excited that it's finally getting some support, and hopefully next support wave for this will be the, not Judgment, what is it called? The upgraded Maelstrom, Glory Maelstrom, and just like Platinum Ezel and whatnot, and we can really take this deck to the next level. But don't want to get too ahead of myself. Miraclossom Dragon seems super solid. I'm excited to see how it feels within this deck. But with that out of the way, that is about it for the deck lists I'm testing. It's still quite a few of them. It feels like a lot less because I had a lot more to test in previous sets, but I'm kind of glad for just a fewer decks. I can hopefully spend a bit more time on them as well. But with all the way, I want to pass it on to you now. What are you excited to test from this set and why? And if you've enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like, subscribing, and turning on the notification bell so you're notified when I do upload more content. As you see, I'm really excited for this set, so I do plan on trying to get some deck profiles out there before we move on to set 4. But with all that being said though, look forward to more content coming out real soon.